All right, so doing thumbnails is a lot about problem solving and is a lot about idea generation. So the first thing that you always want to do is when you're doing thumbnails is basically, decide what you're doing. So say we're doing like a battle scene or something, and the first thing is you want to just start sketching the ideas. Now, as you can see here, I'm just sketching rough sketches, and these ideas don't have to be um, they don't have to be perfect. They have you have an idea, um, you want to get your ideas on paper, and it's just a matter of you know putting them down. Okay, and that's what the thumbnail version is when you are working at um, your initial staging. Okay, so say I'll draw a tank up here. That'll look good. So we are um, it's all about the idea of what you're going to do. Okay, and it's a lot more than just that idea. It's about um, the rough generation of composition, and it's about the rough ideas of what you're doing. Now, as I'm drawing this, as you can see, it's getting a lot more detailed. He's no, we'll put some hoses back there or a backpack on him. Um, we'll put some guys running over here, and so basically, what you're doing is you're just getting your rough ideas on the paper. Now, generally, you do a whole bunch of these, and why you're doing a whole bunch of them is to exhaust your composition ideas, exhaust your actual ideas. Now, from here, this first one, I thought this was kind of a cool idea, but I just didn't. I don't know. In the end, I just didn't think it was very well designed compositionally. So, like so. All right. So as you can see, I'm just kind of putting this rough idea down, and I might take this idea and move it into a different format. So something along this lines here of, I don't know, maybe I like that tank idea. And so I'm just going to put the tanks something like so. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's an idea or it's a sketch to put your ideas on paper. Um, as you can see, I'm just really quickly gesturing these in there. And for a lot of them, as I'm talking, I have no real clue what I'm doing. I'm just kind of putting ideas on the paper like so. Um, and as you do this, as you sit down and um, you know draw these up, you'll come up with better ideas. You'll come up with more in-depth ideas. And as you can see, I'm not really keen on any of these, but so far, so that means I would just move on to the next one. And a lot of these ideas, they don't have to be finished. I mean, if I don't feel like this is the way I'm, going with it, then what I can do is I can say, okay, next one. Okay, and but what's happening with these is I'm getting ideas of placement. I'm getting ideas of composition. What's the focal point? I think this one's a horrible one. I think this one's a lot more dynamic. So maybe I will take a piece of this, and I kind of like that soldier idea running um, in the background here. So maybe I'll continue to move on with that idea. And I like the idea of gung ho type of thing, pointing to the bad guys or pointing to the attacking force, you know, and something like that. And then maybe I'm putting them on a ridge instead this time, and I've got other guys sitting here, and he's giving the order. And maybe this time he's giving the order to shoot down these drones or planes. And so something like this. So I have these in there, and that's what I'm doing is I'm, you know, getting these ideas down on paper. All right, and then once I'm done with these ideas, that's when it's the concept to pick one of the better ones, pick the idea that you like, and start, you know, developing that one a little bit more. You know, see, I seem to like this one a lot more, but there's something wrong with this composition here. I just don't care for. Same thing here. I don't like the composition. You know, I could put, you know, a ton of different stuff on here, and, you know, make it seem more interesting. But in the end, it just doesn't. It doesn't have the feeling I'm looking for. But that's what the thumbnail generation is about. It's about doing these little things and solving your composition. And I'm going to just draw one more here. I think, see, I'm tending to like this one. So I'm going to go with this idea. And instead, I'm going to put the gun up in the air like this. Have him point, and like so. So I'm putting that in there, and then let's put a landscape down, and let's give it some mountains in the background. And let's, I like that ridge idea, so I'm going to break that ridge up. And in the back here, I'm going to put another figure. So this is my central figure. This is the idea that I'm going with. And so on and so forth. So that's my other figures in the background. And then I'm going to put more of these planes, and I'll make them bigger this time, a lot more dramatic. And you know what? I decided I didn't like that. So I'm going to just go in, and I'm going to erase. And I'm going to put a bigger monster. And we're going to make that kind of like a two-legged cannon. And actually, I'm going to turn this into a Gatling gun. And I got to balance it out a little bit. And put some explosions in here. So on and so forth. So what I've done is, and then I'll put another one in the background here. And something like that. So now I've pretty much led the attack here of that one, and I'll just do something like that and something like that. And being in America, we tend to like threes, so, or odd numbers, so I'm going to put another one in there. Okay, so now looking at this, I have, I think, a better composition than the original two, and that's why you just want to do a lot of these thumbnails and ideas to get your generation down. And then once you get done with that, that's when you start looking at the compositional elements. Okay, I'm just going to change colors here real quick, and I'm going to just show you some notes that we're taking here. So first things first is you always want to put some sort of a compositional element of what they call rules of thirds in there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just taking this rule of third grid, and placing it like so. And from there, I can go in and I'm going to just create a new layer here in Photoshop. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and start fixing some of the elements that, or identifying the elements, and then I can come up with some more thumbnails. So if I'm going to look at this one here, the first thing I'm going to say is I would move this figure up a little bit more. This figure up a little bit closer. Let me change my color so I can show you. I would change this element up a little bit closer right here. You know, put him more into the actual third, and then he becomes more accessible as a focal point. And if this is my focal point, I would move this up here, and I would probably move this whole tank over, and that would give me a better sense of composition as well. And then I would move this character over here and put him more of a fleeing, runaway, you know, explosion, blah, blah, blah. And that fixes a lot of the compositional elements that I didn't like about this one, and that's why I moved on this one. And as I look at this one here, composition needs a lot of work. So what I would say is I would move over the tank, and I'm going to just kind of grab, and it's yelling at me because it doesn't like my layers. Alright, so that's my element there. Okay, and then so as a compositional element, I think this would start to be a better placement. And that being said, because I have this gun now over here, and then I can put the figure over on this element. And so blocking this out, this composition out, might be a better piece if I cut it down and move on to the next one. Same thing here. There's a little bit too much going on. I would say right off the bat, I would want to, again, take this grid and move this grid over a little bit. And then I would probably move these planes over so the planes would fall more into the compositional grid. And then again, there's too many figures here. I would dump one, and then I'm fighting here for the foreground. So this would be something that I would have to take care of and look at from a compositional standpoint. And again, this one has issues too, but I think this one has a lot better issues. I could easily take this character and move it closer a little bit. You know, the next sketch, I could move this a little bit closer, and I could change the elements of this. You know, this is a focal point, so I think this is all good. I think just moving this figure closer, and then I could put the background figures in there, so then these two are the focal points. And so that's what the thumbnail generation is about looking at your ideas and figuring out what can make them better.